Welcome to Next Steps to Leadership with your host, Dr. Stephen Oliver. In each episode, we invite experts to share their passion and their leadership journey to help you in your next steps. You can find this show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, hrcvision.com. Now here's the host of Next Steps to Leadership, Dr. Stephen Oliver.
Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to my podcast. I'm Dr. Stephen Oliver, or known as Dr. O. So welcome to Next Step to Leadership. This is really great. I'm very excited to be here with this podcast and having all of you listen and, gather around. So today I'm very, very excited to welcome a guest of mine. This is Mr. Matt Perelstein, or affectionately known as the EQ Dude. All right. He is president and CEO of EQ for Peace, and he's going to tell you in just a little bit about what he does. But really glad to have you here today, Matt. How you doing? How's it going?
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I'm honored to be your first guest, and I'm excited for you to share what you know about leadership because you're very good at it. So.
Well, thank you. I'm so honored to have you as my guest. And this, the purpose of my podcast is already recorded, but just, to reinforce, I am inviting guests to come in and talk about their experiences in leadership, talk about their expertise, talk about their passions, and trying to give any tips, techniques, suggestions, recommendations for leadership. So this can help the listener in his or her journey in leadership to that next step. So that's just a little bit about the podcast. All right, so let's get started, Matt. The irony is Matt lives in California, and he teaches and talks around the world on the topic of EQ, or emotional intelligence. And the irony is he and I went to high school many years ago. We didn't really know each other in high school, but we reconnected a few years ago and found out that we both were involved in emotional intelligence and teaching it. And so we've built a friendship and a collegiality and a connection. And he comes to some of my academic courses, and I do some training for some of his organization around the world. So it's just a really great to be reconnected later in life. So let's jump into this. Matt, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Who are you, and what's going on with you?
Wow, that's a big question. I have a lot going on. I try to do a lot of things, and try to emotional intelligence is like the answer to all the things, in my opinion. So, but I'll start from the beginning, I guess, right? Should we start there, or you want to know what's going on right now?
Mean, tell us a little bit about how you got into emotional intelligence, how you discovered it. Was there an incident, an occurrence, or how did you get into thinking about it and then ultimately teaching it?
There were multiple occurrences, as it turns out, that that got me started. And I got started. I did not find it. It found me, kind of. It came out of need. It came out of need because I was a mess in high school, after college. I have to say, I was pretty disappointed with my college. My education in the United States, I'm afraid, because, wherever I did educated in numerous places, but we lived in Ethiopia and Germany. My dad was in the Air Force growing up, and so I was educated in quite a few places, but I never learned about my emotions. I never learned about myself, really. We don't teach that in much school. That's not big subject matter yet in school. We're supposed to learn about our left brain knowledge and that kind of thing, which is cool and interesting and helps you get a job. But I was a mess after school, and even after college. I graduated from Colorado State and in business management, and I finished going, wait a minute. I still don't know me very well, and I didn't handle me very well, and I didn't handle my emotions very well. And so things didn't go very well afterward. And so I ended up taking a class one weekend. One of my um, actually, I became a manager of a computer retail store, which is not what I wanted to do after school. That was the only job I could get. As if you major in business management, you don't really know anything. Uh, Unfortunately, I found out. So I got a job for a friend of my dad's, and I ended up did okay at it. We were selling retail Apple II pluses. Remember those back
Right.
in the
Yeah.
day, and Commodore 64s, and um, it's a little bit bigger machines. Oh, the first Macs, and Elisa.
Right.
We had Elisa on the retail floor. You guys ever seen or heard of Elisa? That's Apple's. It was a big monster, $10,000 thing, and people are like, we didn't sell any. I don't think, maybe one, but the Mac did well, and the 2 Plus did well. But anyway, they opened a new store. I became store manager. I ended up with an employee, one, one, and she took a class, and she came to me and she said right after the class, and she's like, "You need this." She was a friend of mine too, it turned out, and still is. And she was right. And I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. So I went to her graduation. It was in Boulder, Colorado. This is all happening in Denver. And at the graduation, I was like, immediately, I was like, oh, you're right. This is exactly what I did. I never did see her graduate because I was in signing up for the class. Anyway, that's what started all this. I took this class. I went, oh my goodness, this is the problem. I have no idea how to deal with my emotions, no idea how to deal with them. And these guys do. So I was like, oh, okay. So I found something that I was looking for. So then later on, I was like, oh, nobody else knows how to deal with them either. And so I started teaching emotional intelligence because I kind of took it on as my mission to change the world and save the world. With emotional intelligence, we got to train people.
Yeah, that's great. And I believe that they still don't teach a whole lot of emotional intelligence in schools
Starting to,
today. It's starting to happen more, but it's
yeah,
still one thing they're not.
it's
Just real quickly, if
got
you
a
don't
long way to
mind.
go.
Yep. If you don't mind, I thought I would just give a brief definition of what emotional intelligence
Sure.
is because
Right.
not everybody knows about it. I'm still meeting people that don't know about it and have not heard. So, very quickly, there's lots of theorists and lots of people who are studying emotional intelligence. It's part of psychology, it's becoming a more credible psychological entity. Emotional intelligence is two things. It's understanding your personal competence and your social competence. In the personal competence, it's about understanding your self awareness, who you are, what you're about, your values, what's important to you. And then the second part of that is self management or self regulation. How do you regulate yourself? I always say, choose your battles. What are your trigger points? What are those things, people, places, and things that can really drive you crazy or make you excited, make you happy? And so it's about understanding both of those. Then the social competence is social awareness, being aware of others. A great example is you're walking into the room, a meeting room, and feeling the energy, what's going on. Or, connecting with a colleague or a friend or a loved one and understanding if they're in a good mood or not so good mood. In this competence, it's about empathy. It's trying to understand others and walking in their shoes if you can. You can't always walk in the shoes. And then the last piece of this is the relationship management. It's about building relations, it's about influencing, persuading, motivating, cheerleading. It's about building community. I say it's building community. So what you do is you put all four of these together, and the goal is to work on this throughout your life. Now, our IQ, our intelligent quotient, is something we're born with, but the emotional quotient or EQ is something that we are learning, right? It's heart and head. And so if you want to, and the real caveat to this is not everybody wants to work on their emotional intelligence, but if you want to, it's something that grows and improves through life. I'm still working on it and will continue to work on my own. So that's just a brief definition.
Excellent.
Anything to add to that, Matt?
only how critical it is. I mean, that was a good explanation. It's about me, and it's about me dealing with other people. That's kind of important. And we don't
Yeah.
learn about me. We don't learn about ourselves very much in school, and that's a problem. And we don't talk about it at home because our parents don't want to talk about it either. You said some people don't want to deal with their emotions. Lots of people don't want to deal with their emotions. Lots
Right.
and lots of
Exactly.
people. They're like, no, especially guys, right?
Right.
That's
Yeah.
you use the word feeling or emotion and you just turned off the conversation and we're done. Right? Sometimes,
Exactly. So I want to see if we
which
could
is awful.
I want to see if we could fast forward. Tell us a little bit about what EQ for Peace is. What is your organization? What do you
All right.
do? Tell us a little bit about
All
that.
right. All right, let me go from that workshop if I could.
Mhm.
So I figured out that I didn't know anything about emotions first. Then soon after, I was watching all the other people in the classes, and I took those classes. They were weekend called "Understanding Yourself and Others." Beautiful title, right? And I was like, wow, you know what? Nobody else knows how to deal with it either. Nobody else knows how to deal with their emotions. So I'm like, okay, all right. So of some reason, and then I became an instructor, and I met my wife in the instructor program, which is pretty cool. And we're still married 100 years later,
All right,
and
congrats. That's
and
great.
that's pretty cool. So we started teaching the class, and then things went. We started our own class eventually in California. So we moved out here and got married, etc. She already lived here, and we did these weekend workshops called New Directions. We decided to call it that, New Directions, right? And we have powerful. We take people back into their childhood and start working with the first, where you first started shutting down your emotions, your belief systems that you made as a little kid, and how that's affected you all through life, etc. And it was like, whoa, this is had some huge breakthroughs, huge people saying, this changed my life, it saved my life. Actually, 11 of them, I have them recorded. And so I was like, damn, this is fantastic. But I still had a day job. I'm not making enough money, so I still got a day job. I still have a day job still. And so I got onto social media. I got on to try and find everything that I can about emotional intelligence. You got to deal with people. You got to deal with yourself, like you said. It's you inside and our social stuff. So I like, okay, social media, that's the best way to do it, right? And all the people that were in our classes, we had our own group. We still have our own group, and it's super safe and a wonderful way to do it. And on Facebook, and so one day, so I'm on social media a lot, and I'm spouting my brilliant things and learning, mostly learning and collecting. And one day, a guy named Dr. Dean Van Leuven, who we became friends on Facebook in a group called Emotional Intelligence Applications, and he came to me and said, hey, I got all this stuff going on. I've been teaching this for a long time. Will you work with me? And I'm like, okay. And he came to my house. He said, I'll come to your house and work with you. So he did. And so we met a 4 times, sitting at the dining room table, like elbow to elbow, right next to each other. And we met and we talked about this, and we're like, okay, what are you doing? Well, he was teaching all this stuff in Nepal and India. Nepal. I'm like, where? Nepal and India. And would you take over? Would you help me? I'm like, yeah. So let's make a nonprofit. Okay. So we made a nonprofit. You know how you become a CEO, by the way? You start a nonprofit, it costs about $200, and you put on the line that says CEO, your name. That's it. That's how you become CEO of a nonprofit. And you get approved by 501c3, which there are 1.5 million of them. What were you going to say? Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you also put in a lot of time as CEO. I mean, you do countless hours of teaching, so you're more than just signing up. So you're really earning that. Just want to put that plug for you.
Thanks. I'm getting there. So we met 4 times. Like I said, we started the nonprofit. He introduced me to his folks, and then he died.
Oh no! Oh my!
Bam! I was like, what the heck? I was like, it was really sad. Actually, he was amazing guy, but he went out running, came back kind of out of breath. Called his ex-wife, actually, turned out, and died on the phone. It was like, he was not in pain. He was just like, oh, I'm a little bit exhausted, kind of thing. I was like, it's kind of a cool way to go. But then I was like, oh my goodness. So I got this nonprofit, and I got his friends, and that he started all this stuff with, and he was super famous. And I was like, in India, I was like, oh man, big shoes to fill. And so that's what I've been trying to do since then, is to get back to your point, is trying
Yeah.
really hard to continue his work and to change the world. We got to do it. Somebody's got to teach these people. Most people have no idea. Like you said, most people have no idea what emotional intelligence is.
Yeah.
And it's so critical.
Well, I'd like to come back to teaching overseas, but I wanted to see if you can impart to us, one of your concepts. You recently came to an academic class and just lectured. It was phenomenal. But I wanted to see if you could just tell us one concept that will help towards becoming a better leadership. And I'm thinking of your 5 A's. By the way, I have a journal my students write in, and I'm going to send you some comments. But many talked about the 5 A's. So tell us a little bit about that, so that can help people who are listening to this podcast in their own journey. How can those 5 A's help with emotional intelligence and their own leadership?
Okay. So I'm not that smart intellectually, but I'm kind of got this motion thing figured. I'm trying to figure it out so I summed it up in 5 A's, like he was saying. All right. So the first A is, these are A's. They're just words that start with A. So the first way is awareness, and that is always got to be first. You got to be aware first. And so like we were just saying, most people don't know about emotional intelligence, and you need to. If you don't, you need to. If you do, find out more about it. There's so much to it. It's not rocket science. It's almost all free. Almost all the information is free. Google it or AI it or something and go find out about emotional intelligence. It's unreal amounts of stuff. And it's just starting. There's so much to it. It's just starting. There's emotional intelligence at home, at work, at school, inside, all kinds of stuff. Become aware that you have thoughts and you have feelings 24/7. They ain't going to stop until you do. So pretty good thing to get aware of. Should I keep going? You want me to keep going,
Yeah.
or
So,
say
so
something
the
about
first one is what? Action? Is it action?
awareness?
I'm sorry, awareness. Yes.
First.
Okay. So
Gotcha.
awareness is the first, and then what are the next ones?
Next one is, it sounds like it's not that big a deal, but it's huge. It's called acceptance. Acceptance. And what I'm saying with that is accept that you have emotions, just like people fight them like crazy and deny them and lie to even to themselves about them. I'm not angry. I'm just upset. And we don't know about them. So become aware, but accept that. Okay, yeah, all right. I'm having a feeling. I'm having a thought. I'm having a feeling. It's okay. It's not that big a deal. And in the United States, you don't have to go shoot anybody just because you're upset, and you don't have to shoot yourself just because you're upset. You just are having an emotion. It's okay. You can accept that and be okay. Other people have them too, believe it or not. In fact, fairly amount of other people have them. But the biggest acceptance is accepting that you are in charge of your thoughts and your feelings. You made them. If you can accept what I call emotional responsibility, that is a life changer. That if you don't get anything else from this talk, take that one thing, right? This is a life changer, is that you make your thoughts and you make your feelings. People do what they do, right? People, the environment, the government, your wife, the kids, the weather, all that stuff is happening outside of us. But what we think and feel about that is ours. It's ours. It's totally ours. So if you can accept most responsibility, you can do great things with your life. If you don't, you become a whiner, blamer, victim. They made me angry. You hurt my feelings. You did this to me. It's them, not me. Victim.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, I just read today, America has reached 400 shootings as of today in 2023. So it's very
These are
sad.
mass shootings, right? These are mass shootings, right? Which means 4 or more.
Yes, correct. Right. Yeah. Very sad.
Deaths, not 4 or more people, 4 or more deaths. They have to be to be an official mass shooting. Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
If you shot 20 people and none of them died, then that doesn't count. And 400, and we're halfway through the year. Come on, you guys. Learn about your emotions.
That's our next podcast. All right, let's go to the third one. What's our third A?
All right. Sorry. God dang, that gets me, because one of the guys here in California at the Hollister at the Gilroy Garlic Festival, they yelled out while he was shooting. The guy said, "Why are you doing this?" And the shooter wrote, "Because I'm angry." Like, dude, that's not how you deal with your anger.
I
That is
know.
not how you deal with your anger. I'm getting teary here because it's so ridiculous. People have no idea
Yeah.
how to deal with their emotions, and that's a dangerous, dangerous thing. That's a bad
Yeah.
thing. Anyway,
Well, anyway,
that
yeah,
brings me to
it's a
step
tough.
3.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, go ahead. What's step 3?
Yeah, no, that brings me to step 3, which is action or no action. You become aware, you accept responsibility, and you accept that you're feeling something. And number 3 is take some action, or no action. And in this case, if you can be as angry as you want, you can be upset, you can have terrible thoughts and feelings, and take no action. That's up to you. If you decide to do something, then do it consciously and awarely and with some value and with some class and with some, care about empathy for other people and stuff. If you're going to take the action or don't take action, but it's up to you. That means that you are in charge of your life. You are in charge of your life. If you accept emotional responsibility and then you decide when to act, what to act, nobody can make you think or feel anything. Nobody can make you act without your permission. So you're in charge of you. So the third step is take some action or don't. And those are up to you.
Yeah, exactly. I've had people not get back to me on plans, not respond, and that to me is a response. So
It
when you
is.
don't respond back, that's a response. All right, how about our
It is.
fourth one? The fourth
Okay,
one.
fourth one. Fourth one is allies. Get allies. ALLIES. Get some friends. Get some people to do this with. We're social creatures. We don't like being alone. COVID showed us we do not like being alone. You get stuck in a room by yourself with all of your thoughts and feelings and you don't know how to deal with them. Guess what? It's not going to go well. It's not going well. It's not going well. The suicide rate, the addiction rate, the violence rate, the divorce rate, all are up because
Mhm.
in my opinion, since COVID, because people are getting stuck in a room by themselves. They don't know how to do it. You got separated. And so like the worst thing we can do. So find some allies, find safe people, create safe people, find safe places for yourself. Emotions are about being safe and people that are on your side, actively on your side. Highly recommend it.
Okay. That's excellent. I love that. Because we need others. And then how about our last one to help our listeners out?
All right. The last one is accountability, not a popular one. Accountability, and that's accountability to yourself and other people. And what I mean by that is that you feel what you feel, you think what you think, you take the actions, you decided those things, you do them, and that's the results you're going to get. So be accountable to yourself. If you think this and then you feel this and then you do this, guess what's going to happen? Right? Look at what's going to happen to you. So anyway, it's your results. And I believe, and a part of our nonprofit is about that we are not just learning this for us. Most people don't know about emotional intelligence. So we are working on sharing that. We're spreading the word. Being accountable to others means tell somebody, each one teach one, we call it. And so please share it with somebody else. I go, hey, have you ever heard of emotional intelligence? Just people I don't even know. Have you ever heard of emotional intelligence? And that starts a beautiful conversation. Either deepens if you already know them, or it starts if you use the word emotion in a conversation. People realize that that's a safe thing to talk to you about, and that's a beautiful thing. That is going to help your relationships like crazy.
So those are great. So in summary, awareness, being aware, accepting you are in charge, action or no action, taking action. But if you don't do anything, then that is action, no action.
Yeah.
Allies, creating a safe place and having others support you in your journey in emotional intelligence, and then
Yep.
accountability, following through and being responsible for what you're setting out. Um, so these are really great steps that you're teaching, Matt, in leadership through EQ, emotional intelligence. I wanted to just real quickly come back to EQ for peace and who you're teaching overseas. Who's your population, and what do you see as differences and similarities of those populations?
Well, most of them are in Asia and Africa, as it turns out, and a little bit in Europe, but mostly Asia. And the reason that I'm talking to them is because they want to learn. They want to learn. They are open to it. They are, there's 4 steps to learning. Unconsciously incompetent, that you don't know that you don't know. Second step is when you become consciously incompetent, which means you find out that you don't know. And that's where a lot of these people are. They're like, oh, I don't know anything about my emotions. I didn't learn about this in school. That's a bad thing. I need to learn about this. So step 3 is consciously competent, where you find out how to know. Take a class, learn, go, listen to somebody, listen to a podcast, read, whatever. But you find out how to know, and then eventually maybe you can get to unconsciously competent, which is where you don't have to really think about it anymore. You just do it. But the bottom line is the people that I'm talking to are mostly, they're asking me. So they're consciously incompetent. They know that they don't know about emotions, and they want to know, and they're interested in knowing. I think for some reason over there, they put more value on education. And so they want to know more, and they're you willing to take their time to suck more stuff up. And I don't charge for hardly anything that I do. And so they like that. And so they're into it. It's cool. So I've spoken now to 29 universities,
Wow.
universities, mostly in India, Nepal, Bangladesh. I know. And they asked me, I didn't ask them, they asked me. So it's pretty cool. And the universities are top down ripple effect are awesome.
Yeah, I've done about 5 to 7 through you and your
Yes,
contacts, and
you have.
it is challenging. We get up at 2 and 3 in the morning and give these presentations
We do.
around the world, but I love the audience and how respectful they are, and like you said, they want to learn.
They want to learn.
So, just a couple more questions. Shifting gears here. This is a 2-part question. So, what do you see as some of the challenges going forward for learning emotional intelligence, or EQ? And then, what do you see as some of the positives and opportunities for learning EQ?
Challenges first. Challenges, like I said, and like you said, people like, I don't want to talk about emotions. It's so uncomfortable. It's hard. And so this stuff is really, really simple, but it ain't easy. In fact, it's tough. In fact, could be, if you dig in and do some of the work that we do in our workshops and go to childhood core stuff, it's some of the hardest stuff you ever do in your life. Emotionally, it's hard. It's hard. But it's worth it. It's worth it. Or I should say, and not but. It's worth it. It is so worth it. And you can deal with stuff. You can clean stuff out from your past. You can heal your body. That pain and anger and commotion and trauma gets stuck in our body in different places. And now we're finding tons of research to show that the worst stuff that happened to you as a kid, if you had a bunch of bad stuff happen to you as a kid, they call them adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. And if you have multiple ACEs, chances are very good that you are going to have severe physical problems as an adult. So they're connecting emotional with physical, and it's beautiful. So on to question number 2 of your question is, what are the opportunities? Well, I think some of the opportunities are going to be that we are going to have less behavior problems. We're going to have less mental health problems and less physical problems. That's pretty wild. And the Surgeon General of the United States is involved with this. A whole bunch of doctors and hospitals are going, wow, we're finding some reasons, some core possibilities of why these severe diseases are happening. That's kind of a big deal. And it's emotions going, so that means that we can do stuff with them.
Yeah, and this is not new, but the Surgeon General this year came out and said being lonely is as bad as smoking a pack of cigarettes every day.
Really?
And yeah. And
I didn't know.
for me, I connect that to emotional intelligence, because if for some reason we're not emotionally aware of others and ourselves, that can lead to loneliness. But that might be a whole nother podcast. Just real quickly, Matt, do you?
And that's the allies. That's the allies thing.
Right. Yes, exactly. It's not having the allies. Just real quickly, do you do any coaching of any leaders or individual students around emotional intelligence? I know you do a lot of teaching, but do you do any coaching or mentoring?
Well, part of Ally, yes and no. Not professionally, not as a like you can hire me to do that. No, I did it for a while, and I got too big of stuff to do. I guess I don't know. Anyway, what I end up doing though is I'm working with a bunch of people in different countries. I made a list the other day. I've got like 15 projects going on with other people, and since I'm working with these other people, they're either already doing stuff or we're creating something together. Like this brand new website we're creating called Positive Mental Health online. I need to, in order to work with him, he's not very emotionally aware. The guy's in Nigeria. He's a fantastic person and he's wide open to it, and he's good at web development, which is what I need, but he's not very emotionally aware. So what I need to do is kind of teach him as I go, which is wild, right? When Dean passed away, I become leader, and so I've never led anything before, and so I'm having to figure out how to do this leadership thing, and it's a challenge, man. It'll bump your head, I guarantee it.
Yeah,
So I'm
definitely.
teaching people as I go. It's interesting.
So a couple final questions. This went fast. So you kind of have answered this as far as opportunities, but how do you see
Yeah.
emotional intelligence or EQ helping
Oh,
people in leadership, helping them
okay.
become a better leader?
Okay, let me start from the beginning. What they found is that if we teach emotional intelligence, which by the way, at least in the United States, is called SEL, social emotional learning in schools, they call it SEL. You won't find emotional intelligence. Look for SEL and look up CASEL, CASEL.org, and it's all awesome how we can get emotional intelligence into schools. We got to teach the kids. It's wrong that we're not. And so they're finding that not only do they get along better, and they do better and they get involved in their education, but they actually do better on the damn tests, which is wild, right? You know, America's all based on our testing thing. And we do better on the tests if we do better with our emotions. If we know our right brain, it actually helps us think better. How about that? If we don't have all this commotion going on. Anyway, so it starts at the beginning, and then we go all the way up to middle school, high school, teaching people how to deal with their emotions. Leadership wise, what I'm finding is that I get all excited and fired up and stuff like that. Sometimes that's not good for being a leader. People are like, whoa, dude, I can't do this. I'm not gonna. I don't like it. I don't know, but they don't. It doesn't work all that well. So I have to monitor my emotions to be a good leader. I also need to care about them as a person, not just the job. Both. I care about them and the job that they're doing. If you're having a hard time, I just got an email a few minutes ago. Like I said, I still have a day job from one of my top developers who is struggling with something. So I got to work with her, not only to solve the problem, the technical problem, but also how are you feeling about that? Are you okay? Are you good? Can we keep going? Whatever, that kind of thing. So in leadership, you can't not have emotional component to leadership, in my opinion. You can't do it. That's what I'm finding.
Yeah. No, that's really good words of wisdom, is to solve the problem, but understand the emotions around the problem or opportunity.
And the person, caring about the person, it's caring too. It's just plain
Mhm.
old caring. People
Exactly.
like it when you care about them. In fact, the medical studies are showing that if a patient feels like their caregiver cares about them, they heal much faster than if they
Mhm.
don't. Just caring.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter what medicine they give.
exactly. So, any final thoughts on the future of EQ and for the world and peace? Any final stuff?
So
That in itself could
please
be a
learn
whole
it. Please tell
podcast.
other people. Yeah, please learn. Please tell people. Please, uh, Dr. O is doing a great thing here by trying to connect the two. EQ and leadership is awesome, and you can't not do it. There's a lot of lousy leaders that don't care about that and that kind of thing. That's not doesn't go well. It causes wars and things like that when you don't care about people. And I think it's the key. I think it's the key to happiness, and I think it's the key to sanity, and I think it's the key to success in life, in work and in yourself, in leading at work and leading your family, leading your life, leading yourself. So
Well, that's
you
great.
can't disconnect them.
Well, wonderful words of wisdom. Well, I can't thank you enough for coming today, Matt, and sharing a little bit about your story, your journey, and your connection to emotional intelligence, EQ for peace, and just some strategies, the 5 A's, and just the future. And I just really thank you so much for that. And I ask you to keep up the good work. And
Thank you. I'm gonna.
so thank you so much for coming. By the way, to all our listeners, if there's any way that my organization can help you all in your next step for emotional intelligence and learning about yourself and others, and peace within your own organization, let us know. We're happy to help out. And Matt, please help us out as well. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming and listening to the podcast.
You've
Bye.
been
Thanks for
tuning
having me.
into Next Steps to
Stay
Leadership
emotional, stay
with
positive.
your host, Dr. Stephen Oliver. You can find this show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, hrcvision.com. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing the show with others.